Hello and welcome to Smith Family Gaming. I'm your host Zane, and today we're going to go over kind of a short review of what my thoughts of the Antitheses paint line by War Colours is. I did a little bit more painting. I did my Gandalfs and everything else, and I also did a couple other things that I'll show you now, and we'll take a look at it and you'll have my final thoughts. So let's move the camera around and take a look at the desk and see what we came up with. First off, what I'd like to show you is some of the things I painted up with Antitheses paints. I only actually painted up two things, but I did a lot of practice things and did a lot of different colors on different models, different primers, the same kind of thing that I did with Instant Colors by Scale 75. Now, this is a Rune Wars miniature that I did. I also did an instant color so we can see a side-by-side in a minute. But well, let's get it up there right now. So this is the one that I've got in my hand right now, and up here is the Antitheses one. And I'll kind of go over how I did it all and everything else in a minute. And then I've got, it's not the exact same model, but it's it is the Rune Wars miniatures game skeletal model. Kind of get them both into kind of focus there. First we'll talk about the Antitheses because that's what this is about. So what I did here is I went ahead and I used their bone, which at first I didn't really care for. I liked the instant color bone a little bit more because it looked more like a bone color to me. But, kind of after this finished up and everything came together on it, I almost like this a little bit better. But that's just me personally. It still doesn't look like a bone color to me, but it does give a stark contrast between everything else that's kind of dark on him, making less of a yellow and more of a white bone. And then I splashed a little bit of blood, Antitheses blood on here. It doesn't look fantastic. I'm just fooling around and trying to do this one pretty quickly. And then I did I tried to do some non-metallic metals on the axe. First time trying to attempt that, and yeah, it didn't turn out too well either. But that's not the War Colours' or Antitheses' fault. That's me. Where it really excelled was I think on the purple. The purple looks excellent. I like that bright purple. It looks great. I also think that the eyes, the glowy eyes, was really well done. And I think all that was I mixed a little bit of their blue and a little bit of the sky together, and then put about a drop of the acrylic medium I have from Scale 75 in it to thin it down slightly, and then just dabbed it in the eyes since it was already primed kind of white. And I did go ahead and prime this with my airbrush. I did kind of want to talk about that. I did kind of do it in a kind of maybe a zenithal-y kind of effect. What I did was I did all the cool gray, primed all in cool gray first, and then I kind of did the a white over the whole thing from the top down, white, and then add an afterthought to try to get the bone to look a little bit better. I added yellow with the airbrush on the skull and the bone areas, which I probably should have just went ahead and did everything. The second piece of zenithal is to do it at a 45-degree angle all the way around it, and I should have probably done that in the yellow, and I probably would have gotten, which is the ivory actually, which would have gotten it all everywhere else, and then just done white over the top, and would have had a little bit of a wider spot on the top of the skull, which probably would have been easier in the long run, but it turned out fine. And I went ahead and I did get some thinner for my primer. I think I put it in my last video, but I'm going to let you know then. Again, once I thin that stuff out with some flow improver, that stuff works great. And it might be the best primer I've ever used because it is that good and just sticks and doesn't splatter or ball up kind of like some white primers do. It did great. I was really impressed with that when I got it thinned down. Before I got it thinned down, wasn't real happy. But no, in hindsight, now I get almost twice as much paint. So good either way. I think that the leather, orangey leather color is a nice bright color. And then the wood looks really good on this. Now to do the armor, I went ahead and I used their black, and I thinned it quite a bit with the acrylic medium, and then I just put it on everywhere, and that was basically it. So, and it turned out pretty well. I really like it. And that was one thing I had said about the Antithesis, was that it may not look quite as realistic as the instant colors to some extent, but to me it looks very vibrant and bright, and something like this here, where, I mean, yeah, it's not a super highly realistic looking model. I mean, yeah, it does look like a skeleton guy, but it is kind of a little cartoony. I mean, a little bit to some extent. Same thing with this guy here. I mean, he's just, I'm not sure why they look a little cartoony, but they do look a little cartoony to me, and that's great for this. It gives really bright colors and looks really sharp, you know, as that. Now, I'm going to bring up the instant color one. Okay, and I did kind of a similar thing with it. I did their Savage Beige, I believe, is the color that I got for the bone, and it looks pretty good. I'm not 100% sure whether or not I like this one better or the other bone color better. My wife said she didn't like this bone color, said it looked too green. Okay, I can see where you're coming with that. Maybe I shouldn't have added so much on and kept it pretty light. I also did not prime this with the instant color primers. I primed this one with the Vallejo primer. It was already primed. It was on one of my tests when people were complaining and having issues. Well, not really complaining, but having issues with instant colors. Certain colors just being too watery, not getting any color from it, and I wanted to, you know, prove that you could get it from just about any primer and that it was going to work, and it did. So I did the same kind of thing with their purple. I already had some color here, so that's why this is a little darker than the rest, but I did their purple, which was their darkest purple, and then I did their Golem gray, thinned it down a lot with the acrylic medium, and I think the armor actually turned out a little bit better on this one, in my opinion. But and the wood is basically the exact same. The purple, you know, on the back here, it just isn't as bright and as vibrant. I also did the non-metallic metal, trying to, on, you know, definitely on the armor and on the sword. Sword does not look very good, but you know, and I did the kind of the orangey leather for this also, which you know, looks pretty decent and everything else. And then I believe, I can't remember what exact blue I used to get the glowy eye effect, and I definitely like the glowy eye effect better on the Antithesis. So I'm going to put a link in the description of a side-by-side comparison on my IMGUR account, and you guys can tell me what you think. I'm leaning towards, like the Antitheses better for this guy. I think he looks really sharp. But what I'm thinking about doing is definitely put some metallic paint on the weapons, maybe, because that doesn't look, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look exactly, I've never done non-metallic metals. It's something that we're going to learn together here on this webpage at some time, but or this channel at some point, but for right now we're going to do it this way. So I really like it, and I think it's really good for this. On Gandalf, the Antitheses Gandalf, he looks good, but he doesn't look realistic enough. To me, this looks kind of, the model here looks kind of cartoony, so it works really well for this. Not so well for this, in my opinion. Both of them look really good, but on this one, I am leaning more towards the instant colors than the Antitheses. They both look good, don't get me wrong, but I like the way this turned out, just, I think, solely because I want more of a realistic look on this model than I did on the Rune Wars model. Which leads me to my second thought of what I'm going to maybe use these Antitheses paints on. I'm going to keep working on trying to get the metal to look better than non-metallic metal on his armor, because I think that turned out way better than his axe myself. But I'm going to keep working on that, and if it doesn't turn out as good as I think the Scale 75 one did, I'll probably just use the Scale 75 for the armor and use everything else at the instant color level so they all look the same, because I do like the armor on that, and that was the only thing that I liked specifically best. I did kind of want to try to see what the eyes on the other one would look like if I would have used the other blue and the yellow, but you know, the instant color, bone color. But I'm going to use them. I do like them. I think they're a great paint. I think they're going to be awesome for everything I use it for. I just got to, you know, get a little bit more practice with it and everything else. I mean, I didn't use all the colors just like on the instant colors. I didn't use every single one, but I used a lot of them. And I used a lot of different ones to get different effects and everything else. And the more I play with it, the more I'll get better at it. And hopefully the more I'll enjoy it, which I definitely will. I'm thinking that I'm going to use these Antitheses paints. You know, before I was going to use my instant colors, but the vibrancy and brightness of these I think is going to be perfect for Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures, because they are comic books and they're meant to look really bright and vibrant and just over saturated with color, and that's fine, that's great, and that's exactly what I want. You know what I mean? I'm used to seeing them in bright color. You know, Wolverine, he's bright yellow and blue. You know what I mean? That's the iconic, you know, Wolverine that I remember and stuff like that. Same thing with Beast. He's a bright blue beast, and so, and I could probably get that with the instant colors, and he'd look more realistic. But that's not what I'm wanting to go for with that. What I'm wanting to go for with these Antitheses is, or with those at least, is I want a bright comic booky looking thing. And so that's great. Now, I'm probably not going to use these for my Fallout Wasteland Warfare miniatures. No, I probably won't. I'm not going to use my instant colors on those either, because I really like those models and I want them to look spectacular. And I'm sure that with more practice I could use them on that. And I might start incorporating these with different colors on how I like things done. What I'm probably going to use a lot of these instant colors and Antitheses colors for is doing batch paintings in a game like Zombicide that has hundreds of little monsters or zombies or whatever, and try to do that. I'm also going to use, like I said, probably Rune Wars miniatures, and maybe even the Scent game. So there's a lot of options that I'm going to do here. For me, I love the paints. I think that they're great. I think they do really well. They are different than the instant color paints. I'm not going to really say that they're better. I'm not going to say that they're worse. They're two completely different paints that are trying to do, to me, different things. Instant Colors trying to look a little bit more realistic, which to me is kind of how their paint line is anyway. It is very matte, and it looks very realistic when you can really get it going real well. It does look realistic to me. Looks not so flashy. This Antithesis looks kind of, you know, flashy and vibrant and stuff. And if that's what you want on a certain model, even if it is something you want realistic, then I'm going to use it. So we're going to go with that. So like I said, I love it. I think they're great. I think I need to, you know, practice with them a little bit more and do different things with them, more of these. And once I do some more and everything else and get, you know, further along with them, I'll let you know. But I don't think my opinion of them is going to change. I think they're very good paints. So make sure that if you like my videos and you like what I'm doing here, to go ahead and subscribe and like and share it with your friends and everything else. Like I said before in other videos, the more, you know, people that are watching and subscribing and stuff, the better I'm going to get at doing this. I'm trying out some new software. I went ahead and spent a little bit of money on some editing software to try to get this looking a little bit better. But you know, the more I see that people are actually watching and enjoying and everything else, the time, you know, people are spending more time actually watching what I'm doing. I'm trying to cut down my ramble. It's not working quite so well, but we're trying. But the more money that I'll actually spend into this kind of hobby, that way I can, you know, really get, you know, some better equipment. My equipment's not bad by any means, but I think some small improvements would be helpful for that. So to reiterate on the Antithesis paint line, really like them. If you're going for a very vibrant color, go for these. These are great. They're not too bad of a price. I like, one of the big pluses on it is that whatever the color looks like in the thing is what you get. You're not getting any different color. It is exactly that color. It's not going to be like, wow, that looks like a really awesome red and it's yellow, or you know, something completely different. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that looks like a really good green. Oh, that's not a very good green at all. That's not the green I'm looking for. So that is one thing I do. That is the biggest plus in this set, is that, hey, I want that purple. That's the purple I'm going to get on my miniature. So that's really, really nice. I do enjoy that. I want to paint some more stuff up with it, but right now I really like them, and I hope that you guys will give them a shot and keep painting. So thank you for tuning in and watching, and we'll catch you next time.